I played Assassin's Creed Mirage. So the embargo is today. Apologies for being ever so slightly late. You were too busy playing your review game and writing the review.
Quite literally, yeah.
Quite literally. But for those of you who don't know, Assassin's Creed Mirage it's not a traditional franchise reboot in the sense like it's actually kind of not, I guess, but it is a sort of pulling the franchise back to its roots. So if you don't know, the last trilogy of Assassin's Creed's titles, Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla, starting with Origins, worked somewhat of that was an actual like franchise reboot in a sense. It introduced more role-playing elements, bigger worlds to explore, and with each game, it feels like, well, with each sequel, the games just started feeling a lot bigger than the one that came before. So, like for example, Origins to finish it would take anywhere from like 20 to 50 hours. Odyssey was crazy. Like we know one of our friends Noel put in 170 hours into the game, and Valhalla was equally big, if not bigger. I mean, I've spoken about how I reached a point in the game, like I enjoyed it, but I started mainlining the game and it still took me 60 hours. So these games are very big now. And Mirage is basically pulling it back to its roots, in that the team at Ubisoft wanted to make a more condensed, more focused Assassin's Creed title. And this acts as a prequel to Valhalla. You take in the role of Basim, who I won't go into story details for spoiler purposes. If you've not played Valhalla, you don't know what his role is. Whatever. And they've essentially made a game that's faithful to the originals, and that even in terms of setting, it looks very familiar to, I think, Assassin's Creed 1. Which is just remind me, do you remember where that was set? That was set in...
It was also in the Middle East.
It is Middle East.
But I can't recall the exact city.
I've also blanked. But this game takes place in Baghdad. And it's interesting because it's a sort of original Assassin's Creed with the modern sensibilities of, the newer games. But I guess that is for better or for worse, because it feels like a lot has been stripped back. So mechanically, the game is definitely... It works as a stealth game. Like that's 100% what they're going for. If I think of Valhalla, the stealth was like an afterthought. Like you could go in weapons, the flailing, and just do whatever the hell you wanted. Like stealth was just not a thing. Whereas this game, it feels like stealth is exactly what they want you to do. So, sorry if you can hear the sirens on my side. I don't know what's going on.
It's okay. You're just going to be arrested.
I'm just the police are coming. Man, that's really loud. Sorry about that. So what was I saying? Oh, the stealth is definitely a focus that the team wanted to bring in here. And it's clear because if you get into trouble, while you do have tools to fight enemies off, it's definitely not what you want to do. I think we were talking before recording and even on our own Discord where previous games, it felt like, I'm talking like the original Assassin's Creed's, the enemies sort of ran at you one at a time, just to give you room to like breathe and fight back. That doesn't happen here. Like if you get seen, enemies swarm you, and it's got an interesting system. Kind of the closest comparison is probably Grand Theft Auto, where you've got like for lack of a better description, a wanted level, and the more nonsense you get up to, the more wanted you are, and the more guards appear, that sort of thing.
So Assassin's Creed 2 had a similar thing.
Oh, was it? Okay. See,
and you would like rip off posters off the wall to bring down your wanted level. You would bribe people.
I'm glad you told me that, because just for context, as Assassin's Creed Valhalla was my first Assassin's Creed. I have no prior knowledge of the franchise.
This is a real shock for you. You've gone from the biggest one ever to one of the smallest, probably.
But, no, I'm glad you told me, because Mirage has the exact same thing where you can rip down posters or pay somebody to like wipe your slate clean. So there you go. That's definitely a throwback to the originals. But sorry, I know this is long-winded, but what I'm getting at is that if you are expecting a an Assassin's Creed, kind of like Valhalla or whatever came before it, like you might be disappointed because, and it's not a bad thing. Like, don't get me wrong. Someone like you, Alessandro, who I know specifically wants a more focused stealth game, that game is definitely catered to that fan base. Like, it's for all intents and purposes an old Assassin's Creed, like I said, with a modern coat of paint. But if you want the more role-playing elements, experience levels and the ability to like custom build your character, that's completely been stripped away, which might make fans of that specific kind of Assassin's Creed feel that it's, like inverted commas, lazy from the developers. Like, why would they pull it? Why would they strip that sort of thing out? Whereas, the whole purpose of it is to make a tighter, more stealth-focused game. And on that front, like, they've definitely succeeded. But that's not to say that there's no role-playing of any kind. I mean, there are very light elements in that there are 3 skill trees to follow with their own focuses. So, like, for example, you can put points into your combat or into your gadgets or your stealth.
Okay, that's cool.
And those points are given to you not via experience like previous Assassin's Creeds. Those are given to you just via skill points, which you obtain from doing quests and just doing things in the game. So it's like...
And do you like linearly unlock new, not weapons, but like tools and abilities?
You've got access to a number of tools. You can unlock them in any order you want.
Interesting.
Which is pretty cool. So if you different. If you I don't know, want to have smoke bombs before you have like a noise bomb, for example, you can choose that before the other. And there's an element of customization there too, in that each tool has 3 levels of like it's not modifiers, but 3 tiers of things you can do to change them. So for example, on tier 1 on the throwing knife, you can choose a perk that's like, well, you can store more of them, for example. Okay. Another tier will be like, well, you can set it to be armor piercing or something else. So like, it's not to say that there's no customization.
It's not like deep role playing, but there is like some sort of like progression system.
Exactly, yeah. But it's just like, for example, if you played Valhalla, you know that you could wield like a dagger in your left hand and an axe or a flail in your right hand. Like you could really do whatever the hell you wanted. Whereas here, you have one weapon. You have your sword.
That's not this game.
No, exactly.
Yeah, it was interesting listening to you and Noel like talk about this, with you both lacking a lot of the context about what. Well, okay, I don't know. In Noel's case, I have no idea if she played some of the older ones, but I know for certain you didn't.
I haven't. Yeah.
And like when you brought this exact point up with regards to like weapons, you're like, oh, I don't get to choose weapons. I'm like, that's how it worked. You had a weapon. And the reason for that was because like in the older games, like you mentioned, the combat here is a bit more challenging because enemies come at you at the same time. Previously, they'd come at you one by one and you would have access to this really satisfying, but quite frankly, ridiculous like parry ability where like if you parried someone and killed and executed them, you could then just press a button to like chain that to anyone around you. So like as soon as you killed one person, you were just like performing mass murder on everyone because they were near you and you could just like move into them and stab them and kill them immediately. Amazing. So like stealth was then de-emphasized because you could always escape from enemies just by having good timing. Whereas it seems Mirage harkens back to that, but puts way more emphasis on stealth because you can't do that anymore, which like that gets me super excited to play Mirage.
Yeah. Well, just to bounce off that, so to be clear, you've only got one weapon, but you do unlock different kinds of swords that have different perks.
Interesting.
So there is incentive to, explore the city and poke around because you do get different kinds of weapon, different kinds of a longsword, I guess, or a whatever the hell the sword's called, and you get different outfits as well. But it's not like a headpiece, a chest piece, pants. It's like, no, you get different outfits as a whole, and they'll give you a perk. Like the one I'm equipped with at the moment, for example, it's like which for those of you who can't see, it's the default like Assassin's Creed, the white hooded look, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Of the hidden
looks
ones.
very much like Altair's suit, to be honest.
So that's like a tier 1 enemies. Any stealth kills only generate like 50% noise. Enemies might hear it if they're close enough, but it's 50%. Whereas if I level up to tier 2 and tier 3, then I can have it that this outfit specifically makes no noise when I do a stealth kill. So like there are definitely role playing elements, but they've really been stripped back like completely. Even leveling up your weapon to unlock this tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, like you require resources, but those resources aren't hard to come by, and there's not 10 different ones. It's like you need leather and iron and I think money, and like I've already got 1 or 2 tier 3 weapons, and I've put in only a couple. Well, I've put in just for clarity, like I've put in 8 hours into this game, so I've still got a long way to play. I've unlocked, I've maxed out a weapon, if that makes sense. It's not me, like grinding out levels or hunting out resources. It's very easy to just dive into this game and focus on the stealth side of it and the story. Which, just to talk about quickly, like I found the story is very intriguing. It is a typical, it's the hidden ones versus what are they called? The Order. This is
the Templar Order, or isn't it the before they called the Templars, they were like the Golden Order or something like that. No.
Gold Mask people.
Gold, yeah, those.
That's what they're called in my head now. So I mean, the story is it's that age old, it's the hidden ones versus them. But what I've really enjoyed about this game has definitely been poking around Baghdad. So the world is smaller, but that's not to say that it doesn't offer lots to do. Like there are still side quests, although there's definitely restraints in them. And the world, because it's smaller, it feels like there's more detail to it, and there's a lot. It feels like more satisfying to explore it, if that makes sense. There's less me just exploring an empty town and then happening upon a thing. Whereas here, it's like around every corner, there'll either be like a treasure in a building or a cool lore entry, like just unlocking a lore entry and learning about the history of Baghdad, and then some of its famous people and their contributions to their society and like the world as a whole, back in the 900s or 800s when this game is set. It's been really interesting to, like, I've loved reading those entries, and I think that's one of the strengths of Assassin's Creed as well. It's like an inopportune moment to learn about history, or for Ubisoft to teach people history about a place they might not know about. So I
think that the setting is really intriguing because I agree with you. Assassin's Creed, I think that's part of its biggest allure, is like having these settings to kind of pick apart and explore, and they do put a lot of effort into representing these settings in period accurate ways. So
like when I unlock a lore entry, typically it'll be like a paragraph saying like, this building, but yeah, it's usually like 3 or 4 paragraphs, but it's still concise that it's easy enough to read, in a minute or two, and you get such interesting insights into the setting that you're busy exploring. On that front, I've absolutely loved the game. And again, like, I think my concluding thought is that I have enjoyed this game. Like, I'm still digging into it. I'm only 8 hours in. My main progression, if I were to hazard a guess, is maybe like 25%, if that. So there's still a substantial
I've heard
amount.
It's around like a 15 or so hour game. Like, I mean, that's drastically shorter than the past 3 games.
But I think that's if you strictly mainline the game. Like, I could see that.
Okay.
Like, there's plenty to do, and I mean, I've enjoyed just exploring and doing my thing. And 8 hours in, I'm 25%. Like, for my playthrough, I'm expecting 20 to 25, maybe 30 hours. And, just to be clear, like, I've enjoyed the game, but it is going to be very interesting to see what fan perception is on this one. Because like I said at the top of the review, if you're expecting this super deep, long-winded, and I say long-winded, not in a bad way, but like long-winded RPG where you slowly peel away at the layers of, leveling up and getting legendary gear and like, this is not that at all. However, if you look,
this is a straight up action game, whereas the others were role playing
exactly.
games.
But
different genres, or
if you're looking for, the Assassin's Creed of old, the original few games, like this is definitely that. With a few modernizations here and there on, the light RPG stuff and a few other things. So yeah, it's a good game.
It does sound like from everything you've told me, it does sound like if Origins never happened, the sort of natural progression of where the series might have gone. So that excites me, because like I know I've said before, like Ghost of Tsushima is pretty much an Assassin's Creed game, just without the name. Like it's what Assassin's Creed could be in the modern day. And yeah, I kind of hope Mirage is, I know Mirage is there because it started off as a like small thing for Valhalla, and then they spun it off into its own thing while they work on these much grander Assassin's Creed RPGs, because they are definitely going back to that.
Yes.
Like they've announced multiples of those, but I do hope that they carve out some space for more of these, because I tend to enjoy these sorts of games. And I'm really looking forward to getting stuck in with Mirage and like playing like black box missions again, and focusing on stealth and doing that.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I mean, I'll definitely be talking about it more as I carry on with the game, but those are my initial thoughts on the first couple hours and beyond. It's a good game. I'm enjoying it.